Good afternoon, everyone. Geegado Megwan Kwe here with another Chatting with Wisdom weekly interview series. And so I am super excited to be joining you on this conversation. And so today we are going to have some feedback happening. So hang on one second. Let's get rid of the feedback. Um, so today we have the incredible Denise Cambiotti. How do you say
Try
it?
this one, Cambiotti.
Cambiotti. Okay. Should have asked you that before we actually got started. Joining us with over two decades of experience and international teaching qualifications. Denise is a beacon of natural wellness, founder of Muscletuners International. She simplifies bioenergetics concepts and empowers individuals to enhance physical comfort, vitality, and strength through her muscle tuning system. So Denise blazes a trail with one foot in science and the other in energy healing. I love it. Her mission is to unveil the hidden causes of pain, poor vitality, and a lack of progress in fitness or rehabilitation programs, guiding individuals towards holistic wellness and effortless efficiency. Today, we're going to talk about blazing a trail with science and energy healing. Denise shares her remarkable journey of discovery and insight, unveiling the transformative power of biofeedback and natural methods in achieving optimal wellness. Get ready to explore the intersection of science and energy healing like never before. So, we're going to embark on a transformative voyage as we unravel the mysteries of bioenergetics and holistic wellness. Denise's expertise will inspire you to accomplish more with less effort, igniting a newfound sense of vitality and strength. I'm super excited about this. So tell me more about this whole journey that you've been on.
Sure. Well, a long, long time ago, in a place far away in northern Canada, I was introduced to muscle testing at my chiropractor's office. And what I found out there is that you think you're walking and talking and able to carry a bag of potatoes okay, but some of your muscles are doing that at the expense of other muscles. And I showed up. I didn't think I was in poor health, excepting I was taking pain relievers 3 or 4 times a day for well over a year. And they were taking care of the headache. But when the neck pain came, I went in, decided that was a chance to go to the guy in town that I heard many interesting comments about. And he's a chiropractor, and he's doing something different. All I knew is you go to chiropractors when you got neck pain, right? Or back pain or something. I walked into his office. His assistant did this thing called muscle testing. I didn't know what it was. He assessed me. He said the pain in your head, pain in your neck, your recurring bladder infections, and your constipation are all connected. And I thought he was nuts because I'm going, pain in the head and problems down there. They're about as far away in the body as you can get. So he did one little thing and he retested all those muscles his assistant had previously checked. And everything that was like he's pushing not very hard. And she wasn't pushing hard, but some muscles would lock and other ones would go, woo. And they did that from head to toe. And I was, what the heck is going on? Anyways, after he did a chiropractic adjustment, everything he rechecked was locked on 100% strong. I felt vitality flowing through my body. And I said to myself, this is what I want to do when I grow up. Excepting I couldn't see myself going to school to become a chiropractor because you need like 4 years of pre-med and then 4 years of chiropractic. I don't know if people know that, but it's a really big commitment. And it turned out there's a layperson track that I fell into by accident, really by accident. And I fell down a rabbit hole. I just love it so much. I just kept going.
Beautiful.
So that was
So
my background of, oh, wow, this kind of woo-woo stuff works, but chiropractic is a science.
And it really is about being able to combine both of them. And I love the fact that you actually bring in both of those. And I know that I go to a massage person here, and that's one of the things is that he uses some energetics with the work that he does, and uses the muscles and really brings in the combination of both of them. So like I understand exactly what it is that you're talking about. One of the things that I'm curious about though is you said in a in a town in way up north in Ontario. So where is that?
Well, it was way up north in Alberta, and I worked in an oil town called Swan Hills.
Okay.
And I used to carpool in with a whole bunch of people from a town called White Court.
Okay. So you're from Canada. Are you currently still in Canada?
Yeah, I sure am. And I'm in the Vancouver area.
Okay,
And
beautiful.
I do see people in person, very few. And my clinic work has had to get really tight because I'm spending a lot of time working with people online and teaching them online how to do really good quality muscle testing. And that's where my company called Muscletuners comes in, is everything's online with tons of online support, weekly, Zoom, blah, blah, blah. That's the little marketing blurb for that. And that's only a piece of what I do, because I also work a lot with frequency healing and vibration as well.
Okay.
And basically my mission is to help empower every body therapist or anybody wanting to be a body therapist to achieve more with less effort, as you said at the top of the call. And whether you're working with clients or working with business, and that's where I've started working with a collaborator on the business code breaker. And I think that that's where you found out about me, is you came to one of our master classes last year.
Did
Or
I?
you were signed up. You
Possibly.
might not have shown up live.
Yeah, I don't know that I showed up.
You would have remembered.
Yeah, so I don't remember. I think that we've connected through Tyson's group.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, so yeah, beautiful. So but I didn't realize that you were in Canada. And that's one of the things about being connected in Tyson's group, is that it's from all over the world. And so I get really excited. And I thought you had said in Ontario, but you said Alberta.
Well,
So
yeah, I used to live in Alberta. Now I'm back in my, my province of birth, which is British Columbia. And I'm just outside of Vancouver.
Beautiful.
Most people kind of in the world have heard of Vancouver because we're ranked so high as quality of living. And do you know that the province, British Columbia, it's, we have initials. It's called BC, right?
Yeah.
That means bring cash. That's what all the Albertans say that. Oh, when I go to BC, I got to bring cash.
That's beautiful. That's funny. So tell me a little bit more about so like today we're talking about the blazing with science and energy healing. So tell me a little bit more about, because there's obviously two different pathways that you connect. And so tell me a little bit more about both.
Sure. So like my experience when I was with the chiropractor, it seemed like magic. And what he was doing was working with muscles that are connected to meridian pathways in the body. The meridian pathways is attached to a study of 5,000 years. It's about acupuncture theory.
Yep.
So it's very predictable. When you put a needle here, it usually helps relieve pain there. If there's a blockage here, over a number of years, an organ is going to struggle because there's a limited amount of this chi energy that's flowing in the body. So, meridian pathways are named after the organs like lung, large intestine, small intestine, liver, on and on and on. So when there's energy blockage, it causes pain on a muscular level and a physical level, because it's like energy is trapped. It's trying to get through and it builds up. So you get pressure there. And then when you do so some people find that acupuncture is energy woo-woo, but it's not. They've proven it. Down here in Vancouver, there's a whole huge pavilion given over for acupuncture treatments. So Western medical has finally accepted it. There are studies that took a long time to replicate, because unless it's replicated, it's not science, right? So somebody managed to inject radioactive dye in a teeny tiny little acupoint that goes into a meridian that is the width of a hair. And that radioactive isotope went through the body in these predictable patterns, just like an acupuncture meridian. You know, if you look at the chart, it says
Yeah.
this meridian runs from here to here, and it goes down to here, it goes around the back of the body, and it does, you know, they proved that that actually happens, and that radioactive isotope doesn't diffuse through the tissues. So I don't want to get too scientific, but that's really, really groovy. So it took a long time for some other researcher in another part of the world to be able to hit an acupoint and get the radioactive dye into the meridian channel. Ta-da! And the same thing happened. So now it's scientific. And never mind, I think it was Nixon went over to China with a whole bunch of people for this big political thing. I think it was back in the 70s. And one of his aides needed surgery, and they don't do anesthesia there. And they were all freaking out. And they said, don't worry, we got it handled. So he goes in, he's wide awake, and they're putting acupuncture needles into his body, and they're doing surgery. He didn't feel any pain. So excuse me, like that's kind of scientific to me, that if they can reliably do something with a predictable outcome, that's kind of scientific.
Yeah, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
And when it comes to the muscle testing part of it, they now know that there is a part in the reticular activating system of the brainstem where emotional signals go in and emotional signals go out. And in that part, if there's stress emotionally, you get a block. And that's, some people use muscle. I use muscle testing to say, hey, how's your neck? How's your neck this way? How is this muscle? How is that muscle? How are your muscles working? That's how I, you know, that's my jam. That's my groove. I love to see people get better physically when they've been told you're not going to get better physically. I had a massive accident a year and a half ago, and they didn't expect me to regain this amount of function, range of motion, strength, none of that. Actually, some of the doctors kind of confused because I do muscle tuning on myself, and I have colleagues and really good chiropractor kind of guys that know that this part's connected to that part, and they got to work with the whole thing. But aside from that, the muscles and the emotion. So some people use muscle testing to say yes, no answers.
Yeah.
I don't know why this is coming out right now, but there was an American on public TV a little while ago who said, back when Bill Clinton was denying having sex with Monica Lewinsky, they should have just said, let me check this muscle. Let me go over here so it's on camera. Let me check this muscle and have you now say, I did not have sex with Monica Lewinsky. There you go. We would have solved that, like hundreds of thousands and probably millions of dollars that went into all that using this thing called biofeedback. And so scientifically, they know that there's a connection that goes into this part of the brainstem that when stress switches off. And that's science. And there are osteopaths who also did studies where they would inject people with radioactive dye again. I don't know why that was such a big thing back in this, you know, back when. This was in the 1930s. They would put people into whole body fluoroscopes, and he'd sit at the top of the tube. It's like this big X-ray CAT scan tube, except not quite like that. And he would hold little spots on the head here or here or here or here. And he could watch on the fluoroscope how the radioactive dye would consistently go to this area of the body or this area of the body or this other area of the body, depending what reflexes he was holding on the head. So unfortunately, he died early, young, because of radiation poisoning. But if that's not scientific, excuse me, loading people up with radioactive dye and proving over and over and over that when you touch a specific reflex, that flow happens. And that flow brings oxygen, brings nutrition. It nourishes these different organs. So I don't know. When people say, oh, that muscle testing stuff's not scientific, I'll say, excuse me. I know a few guys who've died. They say science progresses one death at a time. And I know a few guys.
So, and it's just really interesting how there's that connection. And we're seeing that more and more. Like we're seeing that people being able to see how things are connected, right? So like something as wooish as yoga way back when, now is just a normal form of exercise that everybody puts out there as like it's a standard of like meditation and body exercise. Whereas when it first came out, like way back when, it was like, oh my gosh, like this is all crazy woo woo stuff, right?
It's spiritual. It's a religion or something. Be careful.
Yeah. So it's just interesting how all of these things shift, right? So once they can find the science to it, then it makes a huge difference of how.
When it comes to acupuncture, it was total woo at the start because there were a couple of these monks who would meditate. And one of my mentors, like total brainiac, he's got 4 university degrees and he does energy medicine. He knew a guy was a monk, and he said his monk friend had the ability of seeing the channels in the body light up like a path of Christmas lights.
Yeah.
Energetically. And that was traditionally how acupuncture meridians were figured out. Because people who had the sight ability, they could say, wow, look at all this bloop, bloop, bloop happening here. What if we put a little needle or put pressure in this area and disperse that excess energy, and people would get better? So yeah, it did start out woo, but it was replicated so many times. And now, I'm sorry, when they do acupuncture at a hospital, you got to figure that they believe there's some science to acupuncture. And so what ended up happening in my world is chiropractors started using muscle testing as biofeedback. And they started combining it with the work of the osteopath. And they started combining it with the work of acupuncture. And they found out that the 3 pieces clicked together reliably. If this muscle unlocks and you activate this reflex or this reflex, depending which osteopath, one guy was studying vascular system, another guy studying the lymphatic system. You've got the physiotherapists or physical therapists, depending where you are in the world. They were doing their thing. So they had a tool to assess a muscle's not functioning properly. And what if we stimulate this reflex using acupressure or needle, if you're licensed to do that, and see what happens consistently over and over and over. And then they were able to teach that system to people like me. I used to be an executive assistant, secretary. And, some people think that's a derogatory term, but I'm bloody proud of it. I kept everybody organized. We knew who was in charge in the office, right?
Yeah.
So I say that, of course, with love. So anyways, I knew what I felt in my body, and I finally had the aha moment. This is what I want to do when I grow up. And I was about 28 years old at the time, because when I was a little girl, the only examples I had in the females being at work were secretaries, were nurses, were librarians, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, and teachers. And it turns out in my world now, I do a little bit of all of that.
Which is beautiful, right? So, and that's one of the things that I know that my mom would say all the time is like, oh, you always wanted to be a teacher when you grew up. Well, guess what? I'm a teacher. It doesn't look the same as in a regular classroom, but that's exactly what it is that I do. And so, and it was like when I came to that aha moment, that was like a couple of years ago. I'm like, oh, because somebody's like, well, what did you want to be when you grew up? And I'm like, well, I wanted to be a teacher. And they're like, but you are. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess so, right? We don't even think of that because and teaching comes in so many different forms and different ways. And so, so tell me a little bit more about, so you, like you said, you had two streams of what it is that you do. So tell me a little bit more about the other stream.
Sure. So I use muscle testing as a gateway to healing, to identify things that are not going right in the body. And during the pandemic, things were happening. And frankly, what started all this is my partner. I started Muscletuners with a partner, God love her. She got taken off the planet last year. So anyways, I realized that my business was created with 2 energies, and all of a sudden one wasn't there anymore. And that, it's like a trauma, really. And if I work with trauma in the body, why couldn't I do that for businesses? And I was going to network events with energy type workers. Every once in a while, you find one of these pods like the one where we met at. And somebody starts saying, I balance chakras for business, and I balance the Akashic records for business, and I do this or that. And I'm going, really? That's so cool. I wonder if I could do that. So because of my project management background as well, I created a spreadsheet of about 370 different business things, going from marketing, your clients and customers, your products, your systems, HR. Like, hey, how's the guy delivering packages to your house? Like, if you've got the wrong delivery system, company, where people are beaten up on your product when you've lovingly packaged it and sending it out in the world, it puts energy on your packages. And I've known people who have changed courier companies and their business just started thriving. And it wasn't because their packages were arriving any sooner. It was just different. Yep. So there's so many woo-woo interesting stories where I say, hey, how's it going with your invoicing system? You must have an invoicing system. And this woman goes, well, yeah, but I hate using it. I hate issuing invoices. And I said, what if it was not a block for you anymore? You know, that's how you make money. Like, you get money in your business, you send an invoice and people pay it. So like, it's amazing. And how many times I've done an energy balance reading session, not for a person in my clinic or somebody online doing muscle tuning, even online, but for that individual's business. And it's, you've got the wrong clientele. You've got I'll muscle test quite down. Like, you need to fire somebody. And they go, oh, I know who it is. And I'm going, well, is there a way you can say I'm not the right service supplier for you? Bye-bye. Can I refer you on to somebody that could be a better fit? Because they're like using up too much of your energy, or their energy spilling off into your business. And there'll be people listening to this recording maybe who will be rolling their eyes. But what if it's a thing? What if you say, thank you, but we have to go our own ways, and your business starts thriving because now you have the energy for the right clients? So there's 370 something aspects. There are psychological reversals people can go through. There can be environmental factors like government stuff. One guy in Malaysia, he was like referred to me, and he is hoping to make the 5 million this year. And I'm going, okay, that's pretty top of the line kind of compared to who I usually work with. And he had an environmental thing, and I pointed it out to him, and he said, you're right. How could you know that? I'm just muscle testing.
I don't know that. You know that. Your body and your energy knows that.
So, and then once you identify it, what do you do? Because just knowing about it, it's like, I'm still going to hate doing invoicing. But what if I say, can I apply some vibrational energy from a bottle, shake that up to activate it, and here, receive this energy. This is for your meridians. This is for your front chakras, your back chakra. It's for your auric levels. It is for you to access the fourth dimension in the heart and your electromagnetic field. And what about the toroidal field, which is a lot of people don't know about. But what about the hologram? And that's where you start bringing in archangel energy. And would you like to have a little support from the archangels to make issuing invoices a little easier?
And it really is that whole energetics. And so, and it's about being able to, like, how do you remove those blocks? How do you get things going? And so one of the examples that I use is that last May, I won a 50-50 lottery in our community for one of our hospitals. And so one of the things is that I would buy tickets, and it's just like, oh yeah, I'm just donating. Like, so just periodically I just kind of donate, like I purchase tickets, but like not with the intention of anything. anything else. But my grandson was born in March, and so I was snuggling with him in May, and I was like, oh, I'd love to be able to just have the summer, just to be able to have like the ability to like just have some sort of release. And that wasn't the intention when I was actually going through, but it was just that loving connection with my grandson. And I'm like, hey, and I'm scrolling through Facebook because he was sound asleep in my arms, and I was just snuggling with him. And an ad come up for the hospital. I'm like, oh, I'm just going to buy some tickets. But then as I was purchasing the tickets, I'm like, now you visualize Nickham winning this money. And that's exactly what happened. The very next day I got the call saying that I won that lottery. And that gave me the relief for the summer months, not to have to worry about doing a whole lot of work and advertising and all that kind of stuff. And it was like, oh, I can just kind of put it off until the fall. And so it was just really nice to be able to have that energy. But it was that, and I know that my son says all the time, he's not a magical baby. And it's like, he's not a magical baby, but he was the connection between the two of us. That's where that energy was coming from. It just allowed us to be able to have that release and that opening. And so it's very similar in terms of what it is that you're talking about, right?
Well, you were tapping into a force everybody needs to know, that love is a hugely high frequency.
Yeah.
And when you work with love, and I've told people I've trained, even if you only have one class under your belt and you don't think you can do anything, when you do it with love, amazing things can happen. I've seen it several times. Even when I was a level 1 student, I'd only taken a 2-day class. I was helping people, and really the results they were getting, just because I wanted to help them and I was doing it out of love. And I teach that to my students. Connect to your heart, and everything else we're doing, it's just to keep the conscious mind busy while the love is doing the work.
And it really is that gratitude and that love. And that's what we're doing right now is the gratitude challenge. And that's one of the things that I find every time of the year, because I do this every year in April. And so I do it for 30 days. And it's like by the end of like, I'm only on day 9 and I've just got this whole, I'm like, so I went on to do my live today. And it was like, I just have this, like, I have this gratitude for gratitude. Like it was just this, because of, and I'm only on day 9. And so by the time that I get to April 30th, it's like, wow, I'm just so filled with that gratitude that it's just unbelievable. So my dog and my cat are having a blast over there.
There's a squirrel at the door.
No, they're in my room because my office is upstairs, and so they're in my room, and the cat and the dog are playing with each other, and so she's barking at him. So they're just having a little blast, making a little noise. So tell me a little bit about how do you work with people? So like if somebody was interested in one or the other, so tell me a little bit more about how do you work with them?
Basically, people get referred to me when they've been everywhere and not getting results. And they hear I do something differently, that I work holistically, and that I can ask their unconscious mind, what's going on? And I like to release traumas in a very, very simple way, because if you've ever had a physical injury or emotional injury, it's trapping energy in your body. So I like to do that first off. It's very gentle, very non-invasive, no talk therapy required. Then we start asking the body, okay, now what's left? And what is the most important thing to clear first? Is it on a structural level? Is it on a nutritional level? Is it on an emotional level? Is there something electrical going off on your body? And every single session is unique. There's never 2 sessions alike. And depending on what the biofeedback muscle testing reveals, it will also reveal, okay, so you have an issue there. It will tell you, do you need to hold one of these points? Do you need to hold one of these points? Do you need to activate a spray, use some tuning forks, use an acupressure tai shin? So I don't have one right now, but basically it's an activator with a part that it's on a spring, and it'll tell you what acupoints need to be activated and in what order. So by working the way the body wants to unpack but it needs to unpack in. It's just profound because there's a lot of people doing really good work out there. It's just that it's sometimes, depending on the client, is putting the cart in front of the horse. The horse can't get through because you're trying to do something in the wrong order.
Yeah.
And so you get really, really great results, but then they're back into the same muddle. So when you work in priority and ask the body what to do first, next, and next, now they tend to get some more interesting relief.
And I really like that that point that you've made, is that it's not that it's a one size fits all. There is that combination. There is the extra pieces of everything that works together. And so it's just about being able to figure out, like, where do you need to go? And that's one of the things that you do with the muscle testing, is being able to figure out what that, how that works, right?
And it is a skill, and it can be learned. And some people take to it like a duck to water. Other people have to work a little harder at it. And I got to say, it wasn't natural to me. I thought I was doing everything wrong when I started. My very first attempt with a friend, when we both basically were almost in tears because she really, really wanted a release on her goal. Yep. And I had heard things backwards in the office, and I thought what her muscle was telling me was that it was okay when it wasn't okay. So I kind of went, okay, I got to go back to class and study some more. But I asked a few friends and went, no, okay. Oh, I was mixed up. I was confused. I was, not feeling confident. I should have just carried on and pretended like everything was fine. And when I've done that, and I do teach people, sorry, I'm a Virgo. I'm a recovering Virgo.
I love that word, recovering Virgo.
Virgos are supposed to be perfectionists. And I've learned that sometimes good enough is good enough. Guess what? It works for the other 11 houses, right?
Right.
So anyways, just doing your very best and doing it with love, you can have really great results. And that happened to me with one particular woman called Chris. And it made me, I had to search for my level 2 instructor. It took me about 2 years to get to my next level class. People kept scheduling classes and then saying, oh, sorry, not enough people showed up. I'm not going to teach it. And I'm going, oh, I got babysitters lined up. I got everything lined up. I'm ready to go. On 1 foot out the door, basically. Well, it's a week down the road. And they're saying, sorry, I'm going to cancel the class. And that's why I don't cancel.
And that's one of the things that I do as well, is like very, very seldom will there be a time where I'm not doing, then it's like I'm supposed to be doing one-to-one. It's supposed to be, rather than a group session, it's supposed to be one-to-one, and it's recorded, and somebody else gets to have the benefits of watching it later. And so, and because that makes a huge difference. And like I said, very, very seldom in all the years that I've been doing this have I ever just said, okay, we're not doing this, because that one person showed up. And that one person needed whatever it is that was going on. And I have this strong belief that things happen as they should. And so sometimes it's not always the way that we would like it to be, but sometimes that's just the way that it happens. And so I think that that's wonderful, that that's one of the things that you do in terms of learning. And so I'm not sure who it is that's listening, but somebody just did a heart to that statement, because it's just so important for us to, because our teachers show up. And this is one of the things that I learned a long time ago, is our teachers show up when we're ready. Right? So when we're ready, when the door is open and it's supposed to happen, this is when it's supposed to happen. And so it makes a huge difference in terms of that connection. So if somebody were to want to connect with you either on the business side or on the personal side, is there anything specific that they need to do to reach out to you?
Well, the easiest thing is just to reach out to me by email, and we'll figure it out from there. And I believe in the show notes, you've got all my contact information. Yes. But my name is Denise, spelt the French way, Cambiotti. And so I'm info@denisecambiotti.com. That will always reach me. Also, if you're interested in the muscle aspect of things, or even if it's just easier for you to remember this one, I'm Denise, that's DENISE, at Muscletuners, with an S on the end, .fit. It is not a .com, it's .fit, because we first thought we were going to go after all those fitness trainers who needed to learn how to switch on muscles so that their clients could become amazing athletes. And while they really loved it, most of them were poor and struggling. But anyways, that's our domain name, .fit.
Beautiful. I love that. And so, definitely wherever it is that you're watching or listening to this, there is definitely Denise's contact information is in the mix. And so this has been really enlightening, and I've really enjoyed being able to have this conversation, and looking forward to more conversations with you down the line. And I know that we'll connect again during some of our other circles at different moments, but this was great to be able to get a little bit more. And if I did attend the class, I do not recall.
You would have, because you would have been sitting there, we would have been blasting you with essences, and people go, whoa, I smell something, I feel something. We even had a muggle, like a guy who's total business guy, and he's there ready to catch it, like he's going to catch a ball. And he goes, I felt that.
Cool. Yeah, I definitely would have remembered that. So Jody actually says this has been really interesting. And so, so this has been really beautiful, and looking forward to being able to connect with you further, Denise.
I have one more plug. I'm going to interrupt.
Absolutely.
I see that on the bottom of my name, it says collaborator of the Business Codebreaker System. And we have regular events like next week. This recording going out live maybe gives you time to check it out. If you go to businesscodebreaker.ca, you'll find all kinds of information about the masterclass. And there's a wait list if it's not the right time for you. We're planning on doing this probably every 6 weeks or so. We're going to alternate a 3-day, 1 hour a day thing with a 3-hour power workshop to get through it. And so really, really passionate about helping people get the blocks out of their business so they can thrive. So thank you for letting me make that pitch as well.
And you said businesscodebreaker.com?
.ca.
.ca. Okay. So that's what I thought you said. Then
yeah,
I'm like,
for Canada.
So thought I better just double check and make sure. So that's beautiful. And I'll add that into the description for people who are actually catching this on the podcast. So looking forward to being able to share this with more people. And on that note, we will say goodbye and have a wonderful night, everyone. And I will be back next week with another Chatting with Wisdom. Talk to you soon.
Okay. Keep your vibes alive.
I love that.